All right, it's time. I'm finally rested up. Had some thoughts about this. Uh, Asked you guys what you guys had for questions on my deck. I've had a ton of them, so I figured it'd just be a better idea to just make a video covering questions people had about my deck. So yeah, here it is. This is the Prism deck that I took to calling Indy. I got second place overall. Day one, I'm sorry. During Swiss, I was seat one. I was 11-1, I think was the end of it. So first of all, I would like to say GG's to everyone that I played. I had fantastic games against everyone. Want to thank everyone that cheered me on throughout the tournament, online and such. Everyone was fucking great. This community is so wholesome. I love it. It's so weird being in a card game where it's not toxic. I'm used to coming from like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff where it's like really, really toxic. So this has just been so refreshing. I also want to thank you guys for the dank memes in the group. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go check out the Flesh and Blood fan page group. Feel free to throw some dank memes in there, making fun of me, roast me into oblivion. I love it. And yeah, let's just jump into it. So first of all, here's the deck. I was in most matchups running like a 9 red, 30 yellow, 21 blue split. Uh, the cards here in the left section are the cards that are most of the time in the deck. It's not always the case. Sometimes I do sideboard some of these out, but generally the cards that I'm siding in and or out are the ones over here, like the swapping around and everything. So first of all, let's go over what I played. So during Swiss, sorry, I'm going to be looking down. I bet I got my notes right here. I played one Briar, one Viserai, two Prism, and 8 Starvo. And in the top cut, I faced 3 Starvo. The only losses I took over the entire tournament were to the one Briar. Great game. I got to look back on that one. I feel like I could have played that differently. There was a couple choices I made over the course of that game where if I'd taken the other line, I might have won with that one, and I just wasn't sure in the moment. Like I had a moment where I had a haze bending down, and I could choose between playing a second haze bending or a shimmer. And it was pretty early on in the game, so it was like, well, if I play another haze, he might just ignore auras for the rest of the game. Where if I play the shimmer, he's going to continue ignoring them, but this clocks him better. And the game ended with him at 4, and I had an Ode, a Merciful, and a Spectral that was breaking to his Rune Chant. So if I had just found like 2 more points of damage over the game, I would have won. So that's I probably missed some damage somewhere if I could have played differently. I obviously lost the finals to Michael. Great game. You played that very well. I admittedly made some mistakes during that game. I will go over that in another video probably. I gotta rewatch that at some point because I know I made like one crucial mistake. And there's a couple other decisions that I made over the game that definitely cost me the game. Of like I should have taken a different line. They were pointed out to me by a couple of my homies, and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and actually watch it. So I got to do that still. But overall, fantastic game. Fantastic games against everyone. The Starvo match was really scary, but clearly this build was pretty good into it. It really preyed on a lot of the weaknesses of the Rainbow jackpot list, the Captain Planet. But yeah, let's just jump into talking about some of the card choices I made. I'm gonna probably make another video going more in depth into all the matches I played over the weekend later this week. So stay tuned for that. And just like a kind of an overall tournament report, because I do have some funny stories from the tournament that I want to share with everyone. A little bit of memeing. So yeah, first off, we got Skullcap and Crown. If you guys watch the finals, Michael's just like, "What does Crown do again?" He did that like 2 or 3 times. It was funny. I understand it's a weird, complicated card, and I think I threw him off by playing it against him in the finals because I didn't play it against him during Swiss. I never ended up using it against him. There was an opportunity to use it, but because of a mistake I made during the game, I lost that chance to use it. The idea being that he's trying to go kill 2 auras, kill 2 auras, kill 2 auras. So then that lets me kind of keep up with him if I ever draw the hand of too many blue auras. So I can go, well, here's 2 more auras and they're both blue. Try to catch him on an off turn where he can't pop 2. Skullcap I actually played more often versus Starvo, though. That was better against the not his build. Just to kind of insulate me if they have the crazy round and I just don't have the cards that line up properly against it. It's honestly mostly just for safety. You don't need it versus Starvo. It was just to kind of a fallback on just in case they've been high rolling me all game. Definitely did save me a couple times versus the Starvos over the tournament where like I would have lost if I didn't have it. The crown could have potentially let me win faster in some of those games where that wouldn't have come up. But and I liked having the safety net versus them. Next on the docket, we've got Ironhide versus Dreamweavers. As you can see, I'm not playing Dreamweavers at all. In my experience this past season, Dreamweavers really underperformed. I was playing it for the first couple pro quests, I believe, and it just didn't do anything. It just kind of sat there, and I was like, I guess I'll use this to like guarantee this herald doesn't get popped if it's like a kind of one of those situations where you're like, I have a yellow pitch and a herald, and if this gets popped, I don't get to swing with any of my auras. But if I don't play the herald, I don't have any way to give myself go again. So I have to swing with this and hope. So it was really just there for safety on that. Uh, I just didn't really like that. It wasn't high impact enough. So just having the extra piece of armor, because a lot of times you're playing on your opponent's turn anyways. So just being able to like block with the Ironhides with your extra mana from like pitching a blue, pitching a yellow for an aura, and then just getting to soak 2 damage on something else. Also helping with the break points against Starvo was really nice. It was very good. I really liked having the Ironhides all weekend. I never once was like, man, I wish I had a Dreamweavers. Yeah. Next up is one that probably looks weird. Nullrune Boots. If you notice, I already have Nullrune Gloves, and Crown also has Arcane Barrier, so kind of weird that I'm also playing Nullrune Boots. I had just one random slot open in the deck for sideboarding where I was just like, I don't. This slot isn't for any one particular matchup. It's just kind of there for something, and I really want to make it an equipment. I was gonna make it Dreamweavers, but I'm not bringing that in against anything. Almost made it a library to bring in against some of the decks that are not very common in the meta, but get stomped by me having a library. And I ended up switching it at the last minute to Nullrune Boots because of the pro quest that got won by Pheano. My thinking was, you know what? I'm going to respect the fact that someone just won a pro quest with this deck. And if nothing else, I could see people being like, this looks like a fun deck. I like Burn. I'll bring this to the calling and just hope that I get there with it, not really knowing the deck very well, but you can still high roll people. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to respect the fact that that could happen and bring this in just so I can have a crutch against that deck because I have no experience against Pheano, to be frank. I've never really played against it except for like once or twice in Blitz. So I just want to have a crutch for the matchup just to be like, you know what? I don't want to get high rolled randomly. Let's have this. Admittedly, though, I'm spacing on his name right now. I think it was like Justin Graham, maybe? I think that was the name of the guy that got the first place. He was sitting next to me at one point during the calling, and he did make day 2. So I felt vindicated in the fact that I brought that in, being like, this was a smart choice. He was here. If I had faced him, I was going to be very happy that I had that in there for a potential free win. I have no idea if it was going to be a free win or not. I don't know what the matchup is like. Again, I've never really played it, so but I had that fallback plan that probably would have made his life miserable, but never played him. Didn't matter. Technically, could have been any other card. Could have been a crack bauble, and it would have done as much work. But I was happy that I had it just in case because he was there. And then I heard from some other people that they did see some other Kanos over the course of the day. Next on the list, Prismatic Shield. That was a card I had a lot of people ask me about over the weekend. They were like, "You're playing multiple of those? Is that card good?" That card is fantastic. I feel like it performs as well as the yellow auras a lot of the time. The main issue being that it isn't yellow, it is a red, so and it doesn't block. So you can kind of have these awkward situations where it's in your hand and you kind of have to block and you're like, this doesn't really do anything right now. Or I have to pitch a blue to this and it's not going to have go again. So you can have some weird hands with it. But it really helped in a lot of matchups. I was very happy that was in there. It overperformed. It was one of the best cards in the deck. Admittedly, though, it is a little hard to use, and I can see why people don't like having that in their Prism deck because it is very clunky, but I was happy that I had it. And then while we're in the reds, I might as well talk about this. Command and Conquer and Sink Below. That was really just for the decks that I felt like I had to be blocking a lot, like the aggro decks or anything that I want to make them block, so that way their round isn't as good. Never... And the Command and Conquer is also a popper, which is nice if that ever matters. Did not really come up too much that I had them because I faced Starvo all day. Sync technically what could be for Starvo as well. It kind of based on how I felt about their deck sometimes, of just like, if I face them again, maybe I would choose to bring in one or the other based on how their list looked. I think once I played Sink Below over the course of the day against Starvo. And then while we're over here too, just jumping down a couple questions. Celestial Cataclysm versus Starvo. I had some people ask me about that, being like, well, you're never really getting soul. Why are you playing this? It's a yellow. It blocks 3. Huge. I don't have that many yellows in the deck right now, which I really don't like. I believe it's like 33 total yellows or something like that, or 36. And then with sideboarding it usually, I think it's 33, and then one of these two usually will come in, putting me to exactly 30. I had a lot of games over the weekend where I drew at least, I think almost every single game I had one hand where I just didn't draw a yellow, and I was just like, great. Well, I had tempo. Now I don't. Here's my round. Do nothing. Block out. Congrats, you have tempo now. I threw that right back to you. I would like to put more yellows in the deck. It was just kind of rough space-wise because I was trying to tackle multiple fronts of like Viserai, Prism, and Starvo, and still not be completely blown out by aggro decks that might randomly be there in early rounds. Because like, what usually happens to me at these tournaments is I end up facing something in the early rounds that I'm like, I'm not metagamed for you because you just shouldn't have brought this, but you're really good specifically against me. Guess I lose. So I wanted to not just get blown out in the first couple rounds by an aggro deck, so I wanted to have some stuff for that. But given what I faced over the weekend, I definitely would have changed my sideboard if I had known I was only going to face like Starvo all weekend. But, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it's a yellow. It blocks 3. It could have just been a Herald, honestly, but it is what it is. Where was I? Prismatic. Oh, the light soul build. I had a number of people commenting on that, you know, I'm on like Tunic, and you could be on technically the old light build where you're like Vestige Crown plus Tome of Divinity. I adore that build. I was on the, I mean, if you look back at my the other Prism deck I've uploaded where it was the first place Road to Nationals one, I was on the light Tome build back then. I love that build. It snowballs games so hard when you get that like double tome turn and you're just like, here's 6 heralds. I win. I did not really like that into the current meta. I don't like that versus the Casino Starvo variant. There's a lot of brick hands that you can have against that where you're just like, this doesn't block. Guess I'm giving you 2 cards to this Crippling Crush. If we end up seeing a shift in the meta, maybe I go back to that. I really enjoy playing that build if nothing else. It's just fun to play because you just have these like crazy moments where you're just like, I just drew like 8 cards, like Tome, Erudition, Fractal. You just go crazy. You just win the game on the spot. It's so much fun, but it's not as consistent as this, and I think that is important against the current field where you need to be consistently doing your game plan, not just I have these high highs and these low lows. I did not feel like this list really high rolls very much. You know, you've got that like turn 1 where you can get the double aura, but I don't feel like double aura the rest of the game is as crazy as a high roll. It's good, but you're taking a round off to do it. It's not as good as the turn 1 double aura, where the light build, that can high roll, but it can low roll too. I felt like my low roll in this was I didn't draw a yellow, which sucks, or I drew a hand of like all heralds versus Starvo, and watch my finals that happen. And I'm just like, this just doesn't do anything in this matchup. Cool pitch. Spend 4 cards attacking with 2 heralds. They give me 2 blue 8 block cards. Great round. I did nothing. I did not advance my board state, which is, you know, important in that matchup. It's not about the damage, it's about your board. So yeah, that is what it is. But again, I will always consider going back to that because that is my favorite way to play the deck. And then kind of in that vein of thought, Library. I had a lot of people ask me why I wasn't playing Library. I do not really like Library in the Aura build. A lot of the time you're playing on your opponent's turn, so you're not triggering the Library. And you're not always pitching 2 yellows to have your turn. Like, sometimes you're going pitch a yellow, pitch a blue, play an Aura. That's not a Library trigger. Or you're going, like, pitch a blue, Tunic, counterplay an Aura. That's not even 1 yellow. So, because of just kind of the play pattern of the deck, where you're not consistently able to get 2 yellows into your pitch, not even because of the number of them in the deck, just the way you're playing, it felt really underwhelming. I played it at a couple of the ProQuests, and it just didn't really do anything. Like, one of the games I played it, drew 1 card off of it all game, and then my dash opponent drew a card off of it, and I was like, this card doesn't actually do anything here. And the other thing with Library is, at least the way I play it, I really like playing it for kind of a late game where I'm like blocking a lot and then getting that down and then just like using it as my win condition by attacking with heralds every turn and just presenting too much for them to block over and over and over again. And you're not on that plan in this deck. You're not hitting a second cycle. You're not able to like, okay, I'll pitch this Erudition and see it later. No, you are never seeing that Erudition again if you pitch it in the current meta. It is just gone forever. I didn't have a single game go to second cycle for me over the entire tournament. The only game that I saw go to second cycle at all was my finals match where he got to second cycle. I don't believe that I did, but you know, he has a crown. Of course he's going to hit second cycle faster. So I'm just like, why? I can't set stuff up for that, which I personally don't like. I liked the idea of setting up your second cycle and playing to this hyper late game. That was something that I really enjoyed about the Monarch meta against everything but Chain, which is just not something going on right now. It is what it is. Gotta adapt. Gotta play to the board more. Someone asked me about Yellow Pummel. Pummel is definitely a card I have played on and off in Prism a lot. It has its uses. It's good for getting through that Erudition. Honestly, though, like, we've got Pierce Reality. I think that's just better. It advances your own game plan of I'm trying to get auras down, and it just incidentally makes my heralds better. Where like when you're on pummels, it is nope, I am on the herald train. All that matters to me is this Erudition getting through. There is value against some decks getting the card strip out of them, but you're a lot of times just going to get the worst card out of their hand. Against a deck where they're trying to keep their full grip, a lot of those decks right now have tons of poppers. Like, I want to strip cards versus Viscerai. My heralds aren't getting through versus that deck. I want to strip cards against Bravo. My heralds aren't getting through in that matchup. So, like, it's not really what I want to be doing. It's cute with the Command and Conquer, but, like, Command and Conquer is just good enough on its own. I don't need that. If I'm getting them to block, I'm already taking their round anyways, and against a lot of those decks. Like, they're not doing anything with 3 cards. They're just going to poke an aura pass, probably. So what the difference of them having a 2-card hand and a 1-card hand is so negligible in a lot of these matchups. They want a full grip or not at all. Unmovable. I chose to go with red unmovable. I feel like it kind of speaks to itself why I would choose that. I really like yellow immovable, but the breakpoint, it matters so much. Being able to go like a movable from Arsenal plus a 3 block to full block, the like 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, the 11, that's really valuable on those breakpoints. Because otherwise you're like, I'm 1 point short. I have to give you armor or a shield. So it really matters that number difference on it. I would much rather play yellow those just so I could like have that up increased yellow count so it's a little bit smoother in the deck. But fucking 11 has to be 11, not 10. I've had a ton of people over the season ask me about Parable. Everyone thinks Parable sucks. I am content if everyone continues thinking. I'm content if everyone continues to think Parable sucks. That card is fantastic. It always overperforms. Most games that it gets ignored are games that I stabilize and it slips away from my opponent. It ends up being worth so much where I'll get like 5 attacks with it and it will see like 7 attacks. That Parable was worth 13 in that scenario. That's insane. That's so good. I would play a card worth 13 all day. Already covered Celestial versus Bravo. A bunch of people were commenting on how I was greeding on my shields with my hero ability of like making one whenever I had floating mana. I'm gonna let you on a little secret. It's free real estate. Just make them. They're free. Like, just use them. I realize that like needing to leave them there for being able to like keep a card and just go yellow pitch, push, but at least against Starvo, I don't find the games devolving into that a lot of the time. The only times that I'm like, here's my hand, I can keep a card, and I wish I had a soul so I could go yellow pitch, push my board, are the turns that they go back to back to back. Like, Rainbow Fuse punch you with like a Crippling Crush or something. Because then I'm like, okay, well, here's my hand, Arsenal pass or something. Here's my hand, and I'm just like not doing anything. I'm not advancing my board. I'm not attacking with my stuff. But whenever they have like an off turn in between, it's usually fine. It's really just those rare scenarios. But the shields end up soaking a lot and like changing breakpoints where like you'll have turns where your opponent goes, here's the fridge in Starvo, for instance, and then you give them your hand, and you go into the next cycle without a defense reaction. And if they have it again, you're either dead or you're getting hit by the Crippling Crush effect, so you're just losing your round. So it can end up being the difference maker of actually getting the crush effect off on their thing on the following round. So that's why I like doing that, because I find it helps me stabilize when my opponent tries to have back-to-back rounds. And if they don't have the back-to-back, then I'm happy that I have a shield on board so I can push more damage. Because I do want to speed up that clock. Like, I want to close the game out usually as fast as possible versus them to give them less chances to hit the Rainbow Fuse. And once I get the game to the point that they start blocking the 1 damage things, usually it starts falling apart for them, because once they have to start blocking, it's all over. They can't assemble the fuse anymore. And then just general matchups. That was the last thing I wanted to cover, matchups. I felt like this was really good in Starvo, obviously. The things that I was mostly concerned about was Starvo, Prism, Viscerai, and then just generally I wanted a plan versus aggro. Prism, I just kind of went with a generic, I'm just going to execute my plan efficiently. I'm not going to dilute my deck with a ton of tech cards and try to just like out sideboard you. I was like, I'm just going to try to have a consistent game plan of just executing what Prism does, and sometimes catch you with, well, I have a hand of a bunch of tech cards that don't do anything right now. F. And that I found has happened a lot in the mirror with people. So I just don't really like doing a ton of crazy shit in the mirror. I'm just like, nope, I'm just going to do my thing, and hopefully that I can do it better than you. And on top of that, I feel like the Prism mirror is super skill intensive, where it's a lot of like really small, minute technical decisions that you're making and a lot of tempo based stuff. And I just feel like I often have an edge when it comes to that stuff. So I'd rather just, no, I'm just going to try to play the mirror better than the other person does. And if they want to dilute their deck, they can dilute their deck. I'm just going to do my thing better, hopefully. Um, and then Viscerai, uh, usually the plan is just uh, try to race them before they can get their crazy round. And if they get the crazy round, then I just hope that I can stabilize against them and just kill them. Not a lot I can say about that. You just hope you can live and just poke them down. Um, and then for the aggro decks, we got our Command and Conquers to force them to block, our Sink Belows just try to soak some damage, and hopefully we can race them, or they're kind of soft to auras. Those are usually the matchups that I don't really want to see, because I don't have a great plan into a lot of them, so I'm just hoping I fade them. I'm hoping I fade like Dash. I don't want to face Brute. Brute is not a bad matchup, but I find that a lot of times it just devolves into rolling Scab Skins a lot, and the matchup is completely decided by the roll of the Scab. If they get the 6, cool, they get tempo back, and in the current build is like they have to roll 6 multiple times, but still, I just don't like a game like that where it just devolves into them rolling a dice and the entire matchup is decided on that. That's just not interesting. But I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. I will try to get back to them. If there's a lot of them, I might just make a follow-up video instead. I am going to be doing a tournament report at some point later this week. I might be on some podcastings, so try to catch me there. I'm not going to necessarily say where I'm going to be because I don't know for sure yet. So just keep an eye out for that. And other than that, please subscribe, because I'm going to try to be doing some more content now that I have some free time after the season is over, because I've been pretty busy with, trying to build up my local scene and everything. I now have a consistent group of players there, been trying to teach them how to play the game and kind of get them up to speed and everything. Ape Gang, rise up. And yeah, please stay tuned for more content. I really appreciate all the support everyone's given me. And yeah, see you guys next time.